Welcome back, Beans Army, to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast, the college offseason podcast, where you could say we're less of the regular season, but more of the offseason. As the college offseason podcast, we're going to kick things off because Matt wants to talk about some conference realignments to start the show. So, Matt, I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, we are living in the strangest era, or the beginning of the strangest era, most likely, I'll say, for college football expansion. And this happened a few weeks ago, one of them, and the other one was just earlier this week. So if you haven't been paying attention because it is peak basketball season, football is still making moves with North Dakota State, everyone's favorite, Trey Lance having FBS powerhouse, moving up to the FCS conference level and playing in the new look Mountain West. So that's an interesting move. I mean, we all know what North Dakota State was capable of. They were the only FCS program for a long time with those six national championships that got any sort of play on your college game days, your pregame shows of any variety. And now they've decided to make the ultimate bump to the FCS. And I'll be honest, if it weren't for the fact they're most likely going to be ineligible due to that conference step up, I would honestly think that North Dakota State, in their first year at the FCS, because of the conference they picked mostly in their schedule, might actually make the playoff as that 12th seed. But like I said, they're not going to be eligible most likely due to rules, but rules don't matter in the NCAA anymore. So by the cap or no cap football episode, I'll have a better take for you. But the one that really got to me, that move makes a lot of sense, geographically and program wise. North Dakota State is a program that's pretty much done all they can do at the FCS level, and now it's just time to move on. Time to move on to greener pastures. See if you can make the expanded, it's probably going to be 16 or 24 teams by the time they're eligible playoff, and see how much money you can get doing that. But the move that really didn't make much sense to me was Sacramento State, which is in California, becoming a football only member of the MAC. Now, for those of you who are uninitiated with this podcast and are not used to me talking about the MAC, MAC is an acronym. All conference names are, really, for Middle American Conference, which means when you think of Middle America, I know the first thing everyone thinks of is Sacramento, California, because, it's geographically makes sense, right? Sacramento, no, it doesn't. You're joining a conference with a bunch of Ohio. It didn't make any sense when UMass joined, and it makes even less sense when a team from Sacramento, California joins the Mid America Conference with a bunch of teams from Michigan, Ohio, and a couple in Indiana. It just doesn't make any sense. But what this does do is it strips away any pretense, of the notion that like smaller conferences, especially those invested in football, are only in it for like the sake of the players. They're not. Or it's all about the players. It's not. You're telling me a school who's closest by like two. Why is less snapping at me?
No, it's money.
Oh, money.
Money.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. You're telling me that adding a school that's nearly 2,200 miles away from its nearest school, keep in mind, Northern Illinois left the MAC to join the Mountain West in a move earlier, which also doesn't make much sense, but still isn't as bad as adding a team from California when you're when you're the MAC. It just doesn't make any sense. And like Les's hands have so adequately indicated, this is all about the money. When Sacramento State joins the MAC as a football only member, they will give a cash infusion straight away of $18 million to these programs. And that's really the only benefit so far. And I'm not saying that Sacramento State can't become anything good. We know that they've been swinging for the fences with their coaching hirings, with the way they've tried to do their basketball program. What I am saying is let's just forget like the small conference notion that they're still noble and in it for the student athletes because this is about the money. Trying to get that bag because as I've been saying for years on this podcast, the age of the two mega conferences is coming, and your only goal if you're a mid major is just to position yourself the best you can for its inevitable arrival. And that's what they are trying to do here. And I think it also signals that we're going to see, well, not NCAA sanctioned, but we are going to see relegations. I will not be surprised if very soon we see some of these FBS schools drop a level to the FCS simply because the finances are not there and are not ready to compete with other teams at that level. And some FCS schools move up to the FBS for a few years to try and see if they can get that bag just for a couple years, just to make some money. And so I think we're entering like this really weird phase now in college sports where we may actually see like what I'm calling lightly here non-sanctioned relegation, financial relegation of certain teams to different conferences and all that jazz. And while it may seem fun, and it is, and we'll get to the most fun part of this whole thing soon, it's still a very odd position to find yourself in as a college sports fan, especially one who loves mid majors, because when conferences ultimately just realign to the point of nothingness or switch on a year whim for a cash infusion, it does make it a little less fun. And I'm sure it doesn't make life any easier for the student athletes either. And that's what makes it a lot less fun. But as internet shit posters, it can be fun because let's not forget the main reason Sacramento State joined the MAC. It's because now I did the math on this. The second closest school, the first closest is Western Michigan, but the second closest school to Sacramento State in the new look MAC is Ball State. So of course everyone will already have fun with the Ball Sacramento State matchup. I mean, I know Ryan's excited about this. He hasn't showered in a week because of it. But we do have the ball sack matchup, if nothing else, to go with the Central Michigan UMass matchup that everyone loves so much. I'm not spelling that one out for you. You can look that one up on your own. But Central Michigan's mask symbol is a giant C, and UMass is UMass, and you can put that together. But the ball sack matchup, that's a good one. That is a good one. But that's the only benefit we're getting from this, unless, I don't know. Like I said, I can't see into the future. I want to say I can, but Sacramento State may become a powerhouse. Who am I to say? But that's my biggest thing about this is we can just throw. We're going to see a lot of financial relegation, and we can just please move on from the notion that we're doing this all for the sake of the student athletes when we're really doing it for the almighty dollar. And that is my take on Sacramento State to the MAC. But North Dakota State to the Mountain West, I can live with that. That makes sense. That makes sense. But let's cool our jets on some random ass additions before, UCLA ends up in the Big Ten or something, or USC ends up in the Big Ten, or Oregon. That would just be wild if that. Oh, crap.
Or Cal and Stanford ending up in the ACC.
I know. That would just be the stupidest thing ever. I mean, who would that even benefit?
I know, right? Like, what's it all coming to if that happens?
I know. I mean, I can't imagine Louisville going on a road trip to Sanford, of all things, with basketball. Who would think that's a good idea, right? I mean,
Yep.
Georgia Tech and Cal, I mean, everyone wants that matchup in conference play.
It's a world we live in. Like I said, like I was motioning to Matt and he thought I was snapping at him. It's all about the money.
I've made less snap finally. I've finally driven him to madness.
Oh, I've been driven to madness a long time ago. I've just hide it well.
Did I at least do it?
No,
Did I help?
no.
Damn it.
Sorry to disappoint you, Matt, but I was driven to madness a long time ago and you had nothing to do with it.
We
It was
live.
Ryan.
I know. Ryan's in the group chat all the time texting, we live in a society.
I don't know. I don't even know what Ryan be texting in the group chat sometimes. I just be like checking my phone and be like, what the hell is this kid talking about?
Just what answers
Talking
you
about he doesn't like shower, like he goes weeks on end without showering. I mean, says all kinds of
for
such shit. Like, I don't know, dude.
context. I said I was good for a show, and I said specifically I was good for a shower.
And of course, me and Matt just hopped right on it. And we're like, dude, I'd hope you shower before
I
then. Like,
know.
I mean, for your own
You gotta
benefit.
shower before and after every show. I mean, the
Yeah.
takes are rancid, man.
He takes his hygiene seriously. Absolutely. That
I'm
is
the
important.
I'm the Adam Schefter of the group, just reporting stuff.
Does he not shower?
No, just reporting stuff. Okay, we have jumped from the next topic of showering to Adam Schefter of the group, and that I like to claim that.
If you say so.
Yeah.
I would
As we
totally.
transition from basketball, from football to basketball, and from the offseason to the regular season, we are at least keeping it in the MAC with this discussion because if there is a bigger story than the fact that the Miami Redhawks are the last undefeated team in college basketball and one of the best offensive teams in the nation, despite this record that they have, they are looking currently at being an 11 seed in the NCAA tournament. And for a team that hasn't made the NCAA tournament in 19 years, there is a big problem with the Redhawks despite the fact that they are the last undefeated team, one of the best offensive teams in the nation. They are at risk of potentially not making the NCAA tournament if they A, lose a game in the regular season and or the conference tournament because their schedule is that bad. So, Ryan, I'm going to kick this segment off with you. What are your thoughts about this whole Miami of Ohio Redhawks situation?
Yeah, that's definitely a tough one, and that puts a lot of pressure on them finishing out. I think they just had their senior night last night where they became 27-0 over I was watching the end of the game, but I forgot who they were. I totally forgot who they were playing. Does anyone know?
Bowling Green.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Bowling Green, yeah. But it was a pretty good handedly win. Like they won by like 15 points, probably close to that. But yeah, that's just a tough situation, and it feels unfair. Like another situation like this that is not the same context, but it's just so unfortunate because they should be in the tournament was when Bellarmine just joined D1 and then they win their conference and then they can't go to the NCAA tournament due to the rules. Like it just works out sometimes like that way that it doesn't feel fair, but their their schedule is obviously weak and we want to see them play like an actual team. I sometimes feel like that St. Louis might be better than Miami, Ohio, even though they're not undefeated. I feel like I see more strength from them instead of Miami, Ohio getting a lot of these, buzzer beater wins against maybe not the greatest opponents. But yeah, it's just I would love them to keep going undefeated because I feel like they've earned themselves into the NCAA tournament now, and well, obviously with like the conference championship or conference tournament, see how they do. But yeah, that's just that'd be unfortunate if they miss the tournament because of strength of schedule and like a couple losses.
Matt, since your name on this podcast is Matt slash Ken Palm slash RPI slash SOS, aka Strength to Schedule, I feel like you're the perfect person to transition to for this next part. So take it away.
Yeah, and to me, the whole Miami of Ohio thing is another microcosm of a massive issue we've got in college basketball, way more than college football. Football's a different beast. You only get what, 3 to 4, depending on your conference, chances to get it right before you go into conference play. Basketball, you do get a lot more games, but we've put so much emphasis now on the RPI, the quad ones, your Ken Palm numbers, that we really don't care, and the eye test especially, that these teams that would give Miami, Ohio a good game and possibly even give them a loss, especially in the non conference season, are avoiding teams like Miami, Ohio, and St. Louis now because you gain nothing, but you can lose everything. You'd much rather be better off playing like a team from the MEAC, the SWAC, the NEC, the MAC with two A's than you ever would be playing a St. Louis or Miami, Ohio now because, you have to have good metrics to get into tournament. And if you beat a Miami, Ohio team that's good, but doesn't win the MAC championship by like 5 points, you get nothing now. You don't get anything but the W. But if you play a team like Jacksonville or Jacksonville State and win by 60 points, your Ken Palm rating skyrockets because you're outdoing the metrics now. Your Ken Palm rating goes up. And you combine all these blowout wins with a terrible conference record, and you're in a better spot than if you did challenge yourself by playing a Hawaii, a Miami, Ohio, a St. Louis, a VCU. You're just better off now playing just abysmal teams by every preseason ranking and metric. And that's not to say you won't get a surprise every once in a while. I mean, we watched Hawaii Pacific beat Boise State first night of this year. And that's not to say that those teams that you're scheduling that are supposed to be terrible can't overachieve. But it's not worth running that risk anymore of playing a team that's senior laden, that has a coach who's a hot commodity on the market. You just need to go out and schedule like the worst teams in like every conference, beat them by 50, and then when conference play starts, you're on easy street as long as you can coast through at 500. Because I'm going to be honest with you, if I had the choice between seeing IU and Miami, Ohio, I'm taking Miami, Ohio, just for like the visit, just for the fun watch of it all. They play a fun, energetic offense, and they can't help that they're in a weak conference, and no one wanted to play a team that could potentially beat them. Because, I mean, there were signs that they were going to be okay next year. You don't want to play a team that's going to give you a run at home anymore. You're going to save that for conference play, where even if you lose to a Minnesota or a Northwestern type team, they're still a major conference team. So that loss, even if it's close, isn't going to affect you as much as it is, weirdly enough, not being able to blow out a team from the MAC. And that's our big problem here. There's no incentive anymore unless you're a team who just love a coach or a team who just loves ball. And if you are, more power to you. And I love you. Than there is if you just play somebody terrible. And that's a sign that we need to really rectify things in college basketball, that the metrics have taken over. We're playing money ball more than we are like actual fun games and college experience. And that being said, the product this year has been great in conference play and in non-conference play. But if you'll notice, it's just high major teams beating each other in conference, beating each other in high marketing tournaments where they get money, which, by the way, Players Era Tournament is proving to be a bigger disaster in terms of financial distribution than anyone expected. But that's a story for another time. But it's incredible to see like how there's just no incentive anymore to play anybody who's above a certain level, because even if you win, your metrics don't get a big enough bump to matter in March anymore. And it's just really sad. I'm going to be honest with you. Because, like I said, there are teams like Miami, Ohio, who are a lot of fun. St. Louis, I think they're probably I mean, they just destroyed VCU. They didn't. They may not have like won the fight at the end of the game, but they went on a very nice run. I think it was 39-15 run to end that game against a VCU team that's been very good and has overachieved with new coaching staff and stuff like that. To me, St. Louis is definitely a 6 seed. The Miami question basically just comes down to how much do you punish a team for having to play in the conference they play in, and the fact no one wanted to play them. There's a very damning tweet that unfortunately got deleted, I think, because of a revision, that was pointing out like the top 5 or 6 or so outside of Gonzaga, because Gonzaga doesn't count anymore, let's be honest. The top 5 mid major teams that aren't like Gonzaga have played like a combined, each has played like one Power 5 school, because people knew they were going to be good and just didn't want to risk their metrics going into March and costing them by playing a team like that. Hawaii is the only team that got to play 2, and that's because the Diamond Head Classic happened to be in there, and they got Arizona State to give them a game at home. And it's just really sad because, like I said, there's just no incentive anymore in playing a Miami, Ohio. So the strength of schedule argument really takes a hit there. And then it's just because all those people who, well, do they pass the eye test? And what kills a lot of people there is that they do. I mean, they beat Bowling Green soundly last night. They win these exciting buzzer beater games, which, people be like, well, it's a buzzer beater. They didn't really dominate the game. But it's more exciting than watching Indiana go through and like sludge through a Big Ten tournament, Big Ten season, where there's like a couple good games and then a lot of blowouts. I'm sorry. To me, that's more interesting. That passes the eye test more than watching a boring ass Big Ten team or a boring ass Big East mid tier team. You want to get more exciting stories in there. And yeah, you may not get the money, but you'll get the eyeballs. You'll get the eyeballs. And in a year like this, especially where it seems like there are like 5 teams who are just on a collision course for the Elite Eight already, you just need all like the little guys you could get in there to try and make it somewhat interesting before you just end up with Duke, Michigan, Iowa State, and whoever else, and and like Illinois in the Final Four because this isn't real. I don't think this is going to be a great year for upsets because those top tier teams are just so damn good. So, bottom line is, we got to find a way to we got to eschew the metrics, put them out, and let little teams like Miami, Ohio, who have a shot play. Because if we do that, we're gonna put the strength of schedule discussions to rest, and we're gonna make college basketball an even better product than it already is. Throw the metrics out, play teams that are tough, and just go out there and make good product.
I think the most unfortunate part about all this, and this is kind of to sum up both what Ryan and Matt said here, is that when you talk to Travis Steele, the head coach of Miami of Ohio, and you listen to him talk, and he's asked about the strength of schedule as well, and he's like, "Well, it's not for lack of trying. I mean, it's like I'm trying to schedule teams." So I mean, it is an unfair reality that we live in because like Miami is trying to schedule
Yeah.
tougher opponents, but so many people are saying no, and it's like you can't really blame them because they're going out and they're beating the teams that they're supposed to. It's like your job as a basketball team is like you to win the games in front of you. And it's like whether they're good, bad, and different, it's you just have to beat who's in front of you, and that's they just have to continue to control their own destiny. But I do disagree with Matt on one thing. As much as it may be more exciting to win these buzzer beater style fashions, the unfortunate reality is that with the more games that Miami of Ohio does win on these buzzer beater fashions against these teams that are ranked so low in the KenPom, it does hurt the eye test because if they're winning to be able to help the eye test in the Ken and as far as like the viewers' eyes, they have to be blowing these teams out. But the more buzzer beater style wins, they're gonna win. It's like, oh, well, if they're skating by against, these teams that are in the 300s in KenPom, that doesn't bode well, unfortunately.
No, and it's a load. Like I said, I don't think there's going to be many upsets this year anyway because the top things are just so. Oh,
Oh my gosh.
oh my God! If he transferred there, maybe they'd be even better. I don't know.
Or he'll just bring them all crashing down. So if you all can't see it on the YouTube or Spotify channel, Ryan just put a note in the community notes that, Miami of Ohio would be better with Reed Bailey. And to fill you all in on an inside joke, apparently, if you go into Indiana message boards,
Yeah,
Reed
it's
Bailey is like he's the guy who sunk the Titanic. He found Jimmy Hoffa. Anything that could possibly go wrong, Reed Bailey is at the center of all of it.
It's so I've been having fun with it, even though I think it's absolutely ridiculous the way you'd think this guy was literally the Antichrist the way they're treating him on like Twitter and stuff. So it's like, oh no, not again! I'll like Photoshop his team picture on like the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs because you really would think that like if an Indiana, it's like
What,
Mr.
what was the,
Crocker was
what was the
very
graphic you made that like it caught me so off guard because I think I was at work or I was at home or something. And
I
I
don't know.
just
I heard
happened
a
to check the
lot.
group chat, but it was a graphic of Reed in the middle of something, and you just say, "Oh, for God's sake!"
Oh,
Well,
it was the fight. Oh, the fight in that
well,
one game.
he also created like that popcorn fire at like whatever
Oh,
game.
that yes, yes.
Reed Bailey used his mind powers to
Sorry,
fight that
I
up the whole.
had I had to say that, but I didn't want to like really interrupt. But I
Right.
had to mention Reed Bailey.
It was the Providence hard foul last week against Bryce Hopkins.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
And the folks
The Duncan Powell foul. Yeah,
behind the guy like, oh no! It's like it's just ridiculous. Like how
Reed's
he's
just
getting
chilling in the
treated.
corner.
Yeah, we know who did it. Reed Bailey done started that fight. But it's always fucking. It's like ridiculous. Like there's all, and I know this is universal across fan bases. There's always one guy when things get rough who gets scapegoated. And that's the one I see the most. So it's like,
every team has them.
yeah, Gabe Cups
You know,
for Ohio State's getting
Ali Khalifa.
Ali Khalifa. Yeah, so it's kind of just like, well, might as well meme it a little bit. But
Yeah.
no, we do not condone in any way, shape, or form the real people who are like, I'm gonna find you on Twitter and stuff. It's one thing to make stupid photoshops of him because I mean, it's just me being stupid, but I do not in any way, shape, or form condone anything that people say negatively about Reed Bailey, Gabe Cups, Ali Khalifa, or any athlete. But it is fun to make a little meme to make fun of the people who are taking this way too freaking seriously. Get a life, you degenerate gamblers.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I didn't think you did, but now I'm kind of skeptical.
Well, you never know. I just want to make sure people know that
Fair
when we
enough.
make these memes, this is not This is not like, oh yeah, these people are 100% right to hate this guy. It's more of a funny thing. I mean, for God's sake, you get on Indiana Twitter and it's like Mr. Crocker with the fairy godparents.
Fairy
They're like,
godparents.
it's like Reed Bailey did it.
Fairy godparents.
We would have won that game even though we lost by 30 points if it weren't for Reed freaking Bailey. Like, okay, everybody, calm down, calm
You know,
down.
as we transition from one scapegoat to potentially another, there's some coaches that have been making some headlines for all the wrong reasons in college basketball, whether it's the handling of Darren Peterson with Bill Self or ejecting your own player and going off on a journalist like Mick Cronin. We have some serious situations going on here.
Yes, you just raise your voice at me.
Yes, I did. What you gonna do about it?
I'm gonna leave. Damn it.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Because apparently Ryan has something to say about Mick Cronin. So Ryan, take it away.
Oh, and Matt actually just left. No, but just like this guy's just been annoying all season. He's just one of the biggest complainers. And honestly, if you take it away, he hasn't won anything to act like this. Like Danny Hurley,
Did go to a Final Four.
okay, back in what, 2004?
He was, bro, he was nowhere near UCLA in 2004.
I'm just kidding. Oh, yeah, he did with, Johnny Juzang and stuff like that. But I honestly
Don't
forgot.
disrespect Tiger Campbell like that. Don't disrespect Jaime Jaquez, Heat legend, sixth man of the year in the NBA. Don't
Legend.
disrespect them guys. Legend.
Okay,
It goes to show how far we've fallen from the big three and Jimmy
I
Butler.
think
But
we
hey,
all I think we all forgot about the 2020 season. Okay. I mean, Jalen Suggs jumped on the table and hyped up the crowd full of cardboard boxes. All right. Of
after
people.
hitting a half court shot,
Yeah. But okay, so to the point is I feel like, he's been at Final Four, but I don't feel like he's won enough to act like this. And, like Danny Hurley's a big complainer and stuff like that, and he acts crazy, but he's also won two national championships. So I don't feel like he's there yet with being able to act like this. But to start off with I'm going to start off with the player ejection. And I think Tom Crean really said this well with describing it. He was just like, you know, it was a hard foul and you're down like what 20 points or something like that against Michigan State. But not only you're embarrassing the player in front of, like all the crowd that the crowd definitely had an impact on the game with getting in their head. You embarrass him in front of the crowd and the team, but you also embarrass him in front of his parents and his family. You're trying to set an example on a kid and like that's what you should be doing, teaching the kid, making him learn not to do that whenever you're already out of the game. But still, you send him out and you embarrass him in front of everyone. That's not going to make him better. He's going to remember that for the rest of his life, and it's just not a good look for the coach or the player, even though the player shouldn't have gotten injected. But onto the interaction with the reporter, and this was awesome to see, and it didn't surprise me at all with Mick Cronin. First of all, it wasn't the dumbest question ever, and he's definitely
no.
heard dumber. The crowd had an impact on the game, and obviously Xavier Booker going playing for UCLA and used to play for Michigan State. They're obviously going to mention his name or try to get in his head or something to have an advantage for Michigan State. Okay, so it wasn't the dumbest question ever, and he in the middle of the conversation, he was like, dude, I answered your question or something like that. Mick Cronin was the one that kept it going. Okay. The conversation was going to end after, the guy said thank you when Mick Cronin said, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard. Like, I give you that award for the dumbest question, and then he baits him into replying after like asking him why he would ask that. So then he could say, are you raising your voice at me? It was just horrible, and it was all a bad look for Mick Cronin. I think we feel bad for the reporter because he seemed like a young guy that maybe in his early years of being a journalist or a reporter. So it just I'm so tired of Mick Cronin and all his antics, and I can only expect more from him. Like this is not going to be the most. This is just the star on the Christmas tree, but there might be another Christmas tree on top of this one.
Well, Mick Cronin has to realize that the dumbest question that's ever been asked, at least that I can remember, is asking Cam Newton why he's wearing socks and sandals. That's the dumbest question you could ever possibly ask, because who the fuck cares? But also, and in defense of Mick Cronin, because I am kind of level-headed here, that reporter could have asked that question better. Yes, because I am pro media, but I'm also pro accountability. He could have, asked about the going into a hostile environment and then the ties with Xavier Booker playing at Michigan State and how that affected the team. He could have asked it better, but that was still no. But again, all going back to just calling what it is. That was absolutely inexcusable for Mick Cronin to act like that. He acted like a child, and the problem is that we're almost becoming too numb to Mick Cronin having these types of outbursts. And like Ryan said, he hasn't won enough to be acting like this. I don't think Danny Hurley should act like the way he does personally, but like Ryan said, he does have two national titles to back it up. Ain't nobody going to say nothing to him. And if you ever forget that he has two national titles, I mean, he kind of reminds you in every post-game interview after a loss. He's like, if I have to remind myself, I just looked down at my two rings, and then Alex Caravan, the same thing, blah, blah, blah. It's like, shut up, dude. We know. But anyways, yes, I'm pro media, but I'm also pro accountability. Yes, so to play devil's advocate here, the reporter could have asked that better, but that was still no reason for Mick Cronin to go off on him like that. But also, like the more developing story is going on at Kansas with how Bill Self is handling Darren Peterson, because a lot of people are saying right now this is what NIL has opened the doors to. But there's another argument too that there may still be something wrong with Darren Peterson, and he's just not trying to overdo it and work his draft stock. Matt, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, before I get into that real quick, I'm going to be as quick as I can. I can't believe we're discounting Mick Cronin's two Ohio Valley Conference championships. Number one.
We're not. We're not. We're talking specifically about his
Uh,
time at
uh-huh.
UCLA.
That's a joke. It's a joke.
I know.
The second part is I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on whatever the hell is going on at Kansas. It's
No
going to be
kidding.
one of the most awesome stories ever, and I do see both sides of the argument here. I am not a doctor. I just know people have body parts and they break and they get hurt. And Darren Peterson stands to make $1 trillion in a few months if he stays healthy and focuses up, and he's going to be a top five pick anyway. I also understand that Bill Self is a coach, and Kansas is paying Darren Peterson like he's a professional player, and that's even a problem in the NBA. But at the end of the day, I'm not a doctor. I'm just fascinated by like the cold war that is simmering between the Darren Peterson camp, the Kansas camp, and Bill Self. It's fairly entertaining to watch, and it would be a bigger deal if Kansas wasn't freaking winning, more than they actually are. But whatever it is, Kansas is a good enough constructed team that even when Darren Peterson doesn't have a great game, is sitting out, or just wants to point at Bill Self and be taken out of the game, they're still going to be fine and they're still going to win a lot of games. So at the end of the day, as long as that stays the way it is, stands pat, I don't think we're going to hear much about it until the 30 for 30 comes out in 3 years. So that's my take on it. Is winning cures all is the old saying, and it still rings true.
As we transition from one Big 12 coach to another, or former Big 12 coach, I should say, Jerome Tang has officially been fired from Kansas State, one of the biggest coaching firings that have happened mid-season. It's come a long way since that magical Elite Eight run with Marquise Noel and Keontae Johnson. But real quick, because we are short on time here, I'm going to go round table and say who should replace Jerome Tang at Kansas State. Ryan, I'll start with you.
I'm gonna go with Jared Calhoun from Utah State. He's on his way to the Big Dance second year in a row, and he's 22-3 for the in the Mountain West Conference. And so that's my quick answer. Jared Calhoun from Utah State.
All right, Matt.
How about Chris Jans from Mississippi State? I know it's a weird move to go from the SEC to the Big 12, but at the end of the day, let's be honest, Mississippi State is a football school with a lot of cowbells, and Kansas State has shown, even in the Jerome Tang era, they are willing to put up or shut up when it comes to getting high quality transfer portal guys. So I'm thinking Chris Jans goes to Kansas State, revitalizes things a little bit. This year's been kind of a disappointment for Mississippi State, but he'll have more resources at Kansas State, and I think that would be a fun conference. So I'm going with Chris Jans.
I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. As always, like and subscribe to the Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel to get the latest updates on content we have coming out. Be sure to follow the social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads. It's at Less is More Sports. And as we transition to our infamous Bull session, we're going to talk about a team that is kind of feeling a lot of bull session right now because they just lost one of the best players in college basketball and JT Toppin out for the season and tore his ACL against in a game against Oklahoma State. Very unfortunate injury because JT Toppin has emerged as one of the best players in college basketball over the last 2 years, and um, Texas Tech was having such a magical season. They've proven that they can beat anybody, and your heart goes out to them because
It
you never
really
want to
does.
see injuries. But yeah,
Yeah, it really just to me halves their tournament potential from going from like a potential Elite Eight school to a team that should win in the first round, but depending on the matchup in the second round, yeah, it may get ugly for Texas Tech, and it just sucks because, like we said, he's such a good player.
hmm
Yeah, such a good player, but also such a good leader. I mean, I feel like he's just like that captain for Texas Tech, and he'll lead his team however far he wants to, with also good guys like, Christian Anderson. But yeah, it really sucks for them, and it just like, you don't write them off right yet, but it's just like it almost seems like, they're not going to go very far without him. But it just sucks that way. I hope he has a full length recovery, and we'll see what he does in his future.
The good news for him is that he does have eligibility left, and he even has a medical redshirt year available to him if he chooses to use it. So that is the good news.
He's never leaving.